All right, says you are live. And I'm live here in New Orleans, Louisiana, where I just flew in this morning to work with Gulf Bank. Those are commercial lenders out there trying to lend some money, Chase. And you are where today, Chase Gruning?
Well, I'm home for once. The next 4 weeks, I will be traveling all over the country, speaking at various organizations, doing a bunch of different stuff. So good to be home for a little while, but on the road the rest of the month.
Now, what's the number one thing people are calling you in to speak on? Like when they're calling you in to speak, what are they asking you? Because I get asked to speak on Pray Drive right now. My new talk is the big table, like 5 steps to the big table. I've been doing over the last few weeks. Like, what are they calling you and saying? I want you to come in and teach this thing.
Yeah, you always say, what will people pay you for? What are you so good at that people pay you for? Well, with me, what I'm becoming known for is really increasing your revenue per client. So I've got big organizations with big downlines where I can teach their downlines, their internal, external teams, you name it, to generate more revenue per client, which is a really valuable skill. And I think I'm really branding myself as the authority in doing that. That's something I've been doing over the course of 10 years.
Well, I think when you're thinking about people, I like to call them needle movers. There's certain people you hire and they just move the needle.
Right.
Okay. And you'll never go wrong by helping people generate more revenue. Every company is looking for more revenue. And I like to call it undercapitalized assets. Like all of this revenue is there available to these insurance people if they knew how to cross sell, explain the value at a higher level, open up their mind to bigger possibilities. So to me, it's like you're sitting on the old Russell Cronwell book called Acres of Diamonds, but nobody's activating those acres of diamonds, right? So it's like, so to me, you're going in there and you're activating revenue. And I just hired a marketing guy. I'm really into. He's doing a couple million a year in just pure packaging intellectual property and recurring revenue from intellectual property. And I'm sitting there going, man, I got 22 books, I got a bunch of courses. We should be doing a couple million a year in nothing but courses,
Right.
not coaching, courses. Okay. So I'm bringing this guy in to let him activate that unactivated asset. And then I'm like, all right, I want to sign up 5 new members a day into the Greatness Factory. 5 members a day, 88.67 per person. 1 year contract, 45 grand there per day. There's your 10 million annually per year, right? And what I'd like to do is get it to where it's automated and it's like boom, boom, sign up, boom, boom, sign up, boom, boom, sign up, and really make it that easy. But what you and I are talking about today is big missing structures that these insurance companies have. I'm assuming it's leads, conversion, engagement. And I'm going to put your cross selling in the engagement bucket. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, I mean, leads is always a big part of it, and hiring. I feel like those are two revolving doors. You either need more people or you need more leads. Is a big part of it. I think there's some other very key areas, but absolutely, those are the two. Just put them out there, obvious ones.
Now, when
Uh,
you're going to do these things and you're working with these people, what's the first obvious thing that you see that as the biggest missing structure? Now, I'm going to go first. When I was coaching big real estate companies, the first obvious thing that showed up to me, like tomorrow, I'm coaching commercial lenders here in New Orleans. The first obvious thing that shows up to me is they're not prospecting daily. Okay. That's like a glaring, right? That's a glaring thing. It's like, hey, man, objects at rest stay at rest unless acted on by an outside force. People didn't wake up to buy insurance today. They don't wake up to buy to borrow money today. I mean, some people will, but the first glaring thing was that. What's the first glaring thing you see that's a big missing structure for these agencies?
I want to say leads for. Let me put it this way: low level people, not low level people, but low level organizations need leads. Big time agencies that I work with, we teach them how to generate their own leads. So that's really not the biggest gap. I work with a lot. The biggest thing when I walk into a room, what do they need? A consistent process. I see a lot of randomness. Like people are just going into an appointment, going into a presentation, going into a prospecting call, and just winging it. There's no consistent process. And I always say consistent process equals consistent results. Inconsistent process equals random inconsistent results. So that's the first thing I go in is, what does the process look like? How are we generating predictable revenue? And most people can't answer that question. So that's the biggest thing I see.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and very similar to most businesses, when I ask people, what's your customer acquisition strategy? How do you generate leads? How do you explain value? How do you convert a lead? What's your top conversion? So, but would you also say that one of the biggest missing structures is just pure prey drive? Just the desire to get up and go get it every day and like make something happen, create a big goal. But I mean, obviously in today's insurance world with private equity and big insurance companies wanting to purchase companies, I mean, shouldn't that motivate an agency owner to want to go get it so they could have a big exit, a big liquidity event?
Yeah, there's so much private equity. I've seen so much acquisition in our industry, and it's really such a low barrier to entry to get into our industry. And I just think, I mean, the big time people I work with and really the people that struggle, the main difference is work ethic, prey drive. I mean, just attitude. If you boil it down more than anything, it's just
Right.
low level performers have low level attitude. There's a direct correlation there.
Yeah. Well, and I think when you really study the prey drive, for you to be motivated, you got to want something. Okay, or you don't want something, right? You're sick of having a life you had. You want a better house. You want to drive a nicer car. You want to do something bigger. It's like me wanting to fly private everywhere because I fly so much. That's an expensive goal to have, but it's not near as expensive as an emotional tax on me to be on the road all the time. You're starting to experience that. You're
Yeah.
starting to experience that lifestyle now. When you have kids, it starts mattering to you, man. And so it's like, I want to make enough money to fly private. I want to make enough money to do this. I want to make enough money to do that. And so, but if you don't want anything, and what you really do is you end up accepting. It's like, well, this is as good as it's ever going to get. Like, I'm going to make a little bit of money, right? But for me, if I owned an insurance agency today, man, I'd be working to make that thing every day, like scalable for a liquidity and big exit, whether you wanted to or not. You're right, because to me that'd be very motivating. There's an end in sight. When it comes to that purpose, what makes a lot of these agencies not purchasable?
I mean, I think when you look at who's being purchased, what's being purchased, they're purchasing a machine. Can it run with or without you?
Yep.
And most people, the answer is no. It cannot run without you. And in that situation, you just have a high paying job. That's all it comes down to.
Yep.
And I found that out early on. I mean, 3 or 4 years ago, if somebody said, "Hey, can this thing run without you?" the answer would have been no.
Yep.
And now I see this thing grow without me, which has become a whole different level, a whole different animal. And it's a lot more fun. I mean, I've never had more fun building a high level operation with high level people that are just competitive A players that just drive everybody to a new level. It's insane. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, big time players want that, man. It's like, it's like even when I do podcasts and I'm with people that have done big things, makes you want to do a better job, makes you want to play up, makes you want to perform at a higher level. When you go somewhere where it's ran correctly and people are motivated and they want to do bigger things, it makes you want to do bigger things. So environment is an activator of prey drive. Do you see a lot of people have environments of expectation, positive expectancy, or do you see a lot of like, hey man, just show up, do what you got to do? Because I've gone into insurance companies before and coached those companies, and where there were high standards, there was high performance. Where there was positive expectancy, there was high performance. Where there was low expectation, it was more like a babysitting, and I really could tell you the difference between, or a lot of hype up and cotton candy. And I was like, man, this is not, this is cotton candy. What do you see when you go? Can you tell from the time you walk in and how they interact?
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, our model is built around 1099, 100% commission, internal agents. And I work with a lot of people that have true employees, and there's a huge difference in the two of them more than anything. I mean, the high performers that don't need a salary, don't need a structure, they just go and they perform at a high level. They don't need they don't need the base, they don't need the comfort. They want to go get it, and they're driven by expectations that we put in place.
Yeah. Well, I like to use the word. I got this from Pritchett. I like to. There's two words I want to throw in here. One is positive expectancy. Creating environments of positive expectancy, regardless of what people say. They need accountability. They need structure. They need standards. They need consequences. Okay, I don't care what they tell you. And a consequence is if you're if you're um, not performing, if you're a 1099, you're not performing. People always say, well, what can I do with a 1099? Well, I could choose not to independently contract with them.
Yep.
Like just because they're an independent contractor don't mean you can't have standards, don't mean you can't have that. So positive expectancy is we're here to win. We're here to play at a high level. Now, the other word that Pritchett used last week was adherence. And this is a word I typically don't use, but now that you're in the coaching business, this is very important. He was talking about why coaching programs work and why they don't. And the ones that work have a very strong adherence, which means people follow the plan that was given to them exactly the way it was given to them. They don't veer off the plan. That is adherence. And I thought, gosh, how many coaching students really adhere? It's like when I was doing my dissertation when I was in college. They showed me how to do it. I got rejected like 9 times. And you know why I got rejected 9 times? Because I didn't do it the way they said to do it. I was like, well, what if I could do it this way? Or what if I could do it? Then go, nope, nope, nope. And I was just young and dumb. But the truth is, when I follow something exactly the way the person tells me to do it, that's when it works. Is that the same thing that you see?
Yeah, over and over again. I mean, the people that have success in our programs, our platforms, they just immerse themselves and follow the exact process, the exact blueprint that has allowed us to scale over 10 years to multi-million dollars in revenue. And it's really that simple. When you follow a blueprint, a process that's put in place, it's proven.
And I guess this comes down to personality traits or defiance, or I always think it probably comes down to humility of doing it. People think, well, I could do it my way. Well, the way you're doing it's not working. If it was working, you would already have the result that you wanted. So when you can honestly say this, and I wrote this down in church one Sunday morning, I have a desire to do X. If I knew how to do it, I would have already done it. But I'm hungry to learn how to do it, and I'm humble and teachable, and I'm willing to pay to get in a room with somebody who does know how to do it. And I'm willing to do exactly what they tell me to do. Until you reach that point, like I guarantee you can look at your coaching students right now and see the people that are making the most progress. That is their posture. Okay. Attitude is a posture of the body represented by a physical state. I'm hungry, I'm humble, I'm teachable. Okay. So for the people that it don't work for, what do you see there? Because I know for the students that don't work with me, they don't show up, they don't take responsibility. They've already dismissed something before they even tried it. Right? Like, is that the same thing with you?
Yeah, I mean, the people that don't have success, they don't follow the process. They try to do things their own way. They make excuses. They don't show up. I mean, that's the biggest thing. They just don't show up.
Yeah.
And expect. I think what I've noticed more than anything is people expect you to do the work for them. And I think one of the things that you've told me is you've raised a lot of money in capital lately, and it just shows you how much people are willing to invest and they don't have to do anything.
That's right.
And that's the biggest issue I see is when people actually have to do the work or have to be accountable. That's where I see the biggest fall off.
Well, I think that, and that's why kind of what I told you about the day I spoke in Bardstown, Kentucky, and only 3 people wanted coaching and 11 people wanted to invest $100,000 in data centers for the cash flow. And the big aha I took away for the audience today is that they didn't want to sell a house. They didn't want to be coached. They didn't want to prospect. All they want to do was sit back and collect a check. Now, I can't blame them. I cannot blame them. And I don't know how much stock that you have in Safe Space, but one of the things I come up with on Saturday was borrowing against the stock, invested in the data centers for the cash flow. And, that's a creative way to create cash flow when you have equity or stock in a company. And it's like, if you're looking for cash flow, that's another way to have the cash flow. And the more I did, the more I talked to people that own considerable amounts of stock, I found out that very few people actually sell their stock. Most of them
That's,
just borrow
that's
against the equity and go put it into that. So, but to your point, I don't know. I mean, I'm 48, I'll be 49. I don't know anything that I've accomplished in my life that was worthwhile that I didn't have to put significant work into. And so when I see people trying to do it the easy way, it's like I get it. Everybody wants to do it the easy way, right? I want to flip something, I want to sell something, I want to liquidate something, but somewhere along the way I had to work the muscle to generate enough cash to be able to do something. And I think when people try other ways, it typically don't work, unless you got 100 grand laying around and you just want to put it in something and do nothing and probably get a bigger check monthly than you would if you were selling houses.
Yeah, I mean, I tell people all the time that I've been in this business for 10 years, and right now a lot of people would want to sit in my seat because the thing is running for itself. We built this machine, but what people don't realize when you peel back 10 years of it, 10 years ago, I was sleeping on a couch making $2,000, $3,000, and this
Yeah.
has been just a long obedience of doing the same thing and teaching other people how to do the same thing, and really what 70% of my life was doing the thing that's brought it to this point.
Well, I'm about to get involved with a coffee company named Nashville Grind, and started by a guy named Matt Hollander, which had a huge exit on a renovation company out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. And part of the reason I agreed to partner on that company was because everybody's got a story like that. I slept on a couch. I was making $2,000. Something happened. I flipped it and made it big, right? Like everybody's got a grind story. And one of the things I told him is initially was going to use country music singers to tell their story. Like, hey man, I played on Tootsie's for 10 years and nobody ever, and I was about to quit. And our Garth Brooks came to Nashville and went home in 48 hours and somebody convinced him to come back to Nashville. Like that's a story. And I said, man, I could give you thousands of stories of people that grinding it out for a period of time, made no money, and then they wake up and they're multimillionaires because something shifted in their life. And they can go back and tell you the story of how that happened. So I think it's going to be a pretty cool thing. We're going to serve Nashville Grind coffee at the Greatness Factory, and but that's your story. What was the thing that flipped the switch for you from going from 2000? Was it just long obedience? Was it somebody walked into your life back in those days and showed you a better way? Was it a new relationship? What took you from the couch to the big house?
Well, the couch is when I was coaching football. So that was specifically an industry change. But I mean, I was just a very average insurance agency owner for a while. And I think what flipped the switch for me is I had some agents that if I didn't do something different, they were going to leave. So I had to force myself to appreciate, to really retain and grow our agency. And I think that was a big part of it. And I also had so many damn different things going on. I was trying to do stock trading. I was trying to buy real estate. I was trying all these different side hustles. And then I just went all in on one thing.
Yeah.
And it just blew my mind what happened when I went all in on one thing instead of trying to be the serial entrepreneur and do all these different things with 20% of my time.
Yeah. And I do think there's some arguments of this is very important what I'm about to say. I think there's some arguments for diluted focus equals diluted results.
Mm-hmm.
I also think choosing the right thing to go all in on. Now Pritchett makes the argument that no matter what table you're sitting at, you can experience a quantum leap. Okay, like no matter what it is, you could choose a table, and wherever you're sitting, you could experience a quantum leap at that table. And I do believe that if you focus solely on that one thing. It's hard for entrepreneurs, right? It's like, hey, I want to do this, and they have a lot of opportunity confusion. It's like, well, I could do this, and I could do this, and I could do this, and I could do this. And if you're doubling down on something that just has no scale potential, then it's like, hey, you may need to change the game. But if you're in the right vehicle that could scale, could give you recurring revenue, then maybe it's like, hey man, I'm going all in on this and I'm burning the boats, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, real estate has a lot of residual potential, but it takes a lot of capital. I mean, stock trading, it's a dangerous game to play, in my opinion. And just a lot of other industries are not scalable. This is a very unique industry, without a doubt, that you can scale quickly. And if you have a proven process, if you can generate leads. I had somebody walk into my office the other day. I explained that process, and they're like, "So your agents literally just come in here and they take appointments and they make money all day long? It's like free money?" And I'm like, "Yes, that's exactly how our process works." And when you have something so unique like that, and you can scale it and duplicate it, that's where it gets a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, this is really the things you're coaching insurance people on, agencies, individual agents that want to grow, scale, build something, right? People ready to play at a higher level. And you got some things coming up this month in August, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk through some of those things because we've got a virtual event, got virtual things coming up, we got in-person things coming up. Let's give an overview to people. So if you're out there watching this, a lot of people, all diffusion kicks in. You've been watching it, you've been watching it, you've been watching it, you've been watching it. And then one day you're like, damn it, I'm getting off the bench and I'm getting in the game and I'm doing it. Got enough pain. I'm tired of playing small. I'm ready to get a seat at a bigger table. I'm going to the greatness factory. So give people an update on what you got coming up.
And I can't say enough. What you said there was so crucial. I remember my first couple of years when I was just an average agency, and I would watch stuff like this, and I'm like, they can't help me. I'm not going to go get a coach. I'm not going to invest in anything. And then it flipped, and I did it, and everything changed. Yeah. So I can tell you the amount of work you invest, the amount of reinvestment you do, or the people you work with, or the coaching you do. If you don't do anything like that, I can tell you right now what your bank account looks like. I can tell you right now. Yeah. And I'm telling you, I made that switch. It changed everything. But to answer your question, Coach, I'll be speaking all over the country this month. So I'll be in the Northeast, speaking with Garrity, about 500, 600 agents next week. I'll be in Texas at the back end of next week, speaking with some agents around Dallas. And then I'll be back in Nashville. We've got our Coaches Retreat event. And we'll really be rolling out our exact systems and processes that we take into annual enrollment period, which is our busiest time of the year. So we're going to give you the sauce, in other words. Coach Burt will be speaking there. We'll have a ton of other industry leaders speaking there. And that'll wrap up a phenomenal August and get us ready for the playoff time, which is Q4 for our industry.
There comes a time when winter asks what you've been doing all spring and summer. And winter's always coming, right? And you guys are, insurance is a winter sport, like basketball was a winter sport for us. And I always said we don't win championships in the season. We win championships in the off season. So all the preparation leads up to that. So Chase, another great addition of Coach to Coach, finding missing structures in businesses. There's somebody out there watching this who says, man, I'm tired of playing small. I'm tired of eating crumbs. I'm tired of eating other people's crumbs.
Yeah, in there.
And I'm getting off the bench and getting in the game. So where do they go? Coach, tell them where they go. Coach G office?
CoachGHuddle.com. One of these days we're going to get it, Coach.
CoachGHuddle.com. And he has the coach's office in the Coach G Huddle. Okay.
Yeah, Coach's office is our premier platform. We've had about 350 members join this past year, and that's a proven framework process and just a pathway to get you to the next level. Whether you're a new agent, a marketing company, doesn't matter. I've worn every hat in this industry, and that's what's been fun. Is I'm uniquely qualified to teach somebody no matter where they're at in this industry because I've been there.
Yeah, that's right, man. All right, man. We'll look forward to a big August. There comes a time when winter asks what you've been doing all spring and summer, folks. That's what we're talking about. Coach, another good session today.
Appreciate you, Coach. Have a good one.